Hi, WEOLA. I've prepared a question and I'd like to read it out. I would like to discuss the concept of truth with you again. And I understand from the last conversation and agree to a point that it's about it's about choice in what you believe. But when it comes to being governed and how our leaders hide the truth from us, I have more of an issue with that concept. And I want to give you some examples. The first one is the RT-PCR test that's being used to detect COVID-19 was never designed to test for an infectious disease. And it's being used to create the high numbers and give false information, which creates fear and therefore more control. And the second point is that the masks that we are told to wear cannot stop you from getting a virus, because the mask pores are 20 to 100 microns and the virus is 0.1 microns. And they are just damaging your own health. And they're a measure of how we can be controlled. And I feel that's what they're being used for. So yesterday, I joined the Thrive community because I feel more aligned to their method of research and how they validate truth before going public with it. And they have proven the existence of the deep state and the global domination agenda. And that agenda does not include our well-being or our ability to thrive. And it's all about control, power, and their own wealth. So my question, or desire for more clarity on that, is that the choice is in what you personally are comfortable accepting, but that does not negate real truth. And how do we create change if we do not accept what is really happening and that we are being lied to by those in power and what we are being told by mainstream media?
We're excited to talk to you about this, but on many various of levels, because what you're bringing up here is the choice on different levels that you are to make. First, we wanted to ask you, why do you think that this is exciting to those in power? Why do you think they're choosing to do what you call dominating through fear? Why do you think this is something that's someone's choice to begin with?
Because they want to have world global domination in the sense of one power, and they want to create from that. So in doing that, they have to make sure that we're all in a situation where we can be manipulated and we can be controlled. So they don't want individual rights as effects. They want us to be managed as a you know, that we are really at the bottom of the row, and then there is a pyramid effect and they sit at the top. And so the control is very much about their power, and it's about their power, really. And
we would like you to have a second and be in their shoes. How does it feel to have power this way?
I don't think I could stand in their shoes, but I think their power is not, it's not good power, it's more evil. It doesn't come from a good, it doesn't come from utopia, it comes from the opposite end of that scale, if you like.
Well, we are asking you all these questions. We know you cannot be in anybody else's shoes. You can only perceive from the place of self, and that is exactly the whole point of this conversation. That in this moment you can choose. You can choose for this situation to be presented to you in your understanding as something that someone is doing because of their satisfaction of their power, of something that someone is doing because they are in fear that if they do not do it this way, others will be in more fear. You can choose all of the situations, moment by moment by moment. In this moment, if you were to have an opportunity to have this kind of agenda be broadened to a lot of people, and there are a lot of people who are choosing to have an agreement with that kind of a truth that you're talking about, with that kind of a truth that's coming from fear. And for as many as allow themselves to see it in a way of fear, in a way that it's maybe even presented, we'll get into that part in a bit, but even if it was to be presented, that the fear is that way, so it can be manipulated, so the more can be manipulated through that place of fear, that is also the choice of the ones taking that particular experiencing and having that fear. So that choice of having the fear or not having the fear is always a choice. If you take a situation at the moment, which would be possible, not maybe in a way that you can see it immediately, but if everyone was to release all of the fear at the same time, that particular concept you're talking about could not exist. If everyone was to see that and choose not fear and choose less than fear, or to choose more on a thing of satisfaction, on a side of satisfaction, this particular agenda would not work. So we want to bring to your attention that that is where your choice is. And when you see others having agreement of any kind of a context, moment by moment by moment by moment, then you cannot choose from them. As well as you could say that you could not put yourself in a shoe of some hypothetical person or even a person you might heard of, but you cannot put yourself in the shoes of even people that you know, no matter how much even people tell you their opinions, how much they share their stories, their point of view. You can never really put yourself in that place. The moment you try to put yourself in someone else's place is when you have that opportunity to really remove yourself from your own question-answer dance and get into the place where you are not even clearly seeing your own question from your own answer. So we always suggest, there is always suggestion for you to be in your own now, to be in your own present, experiencing this moment by moment question-answer dance. Because even if what you're saying was true, that someone might have this evil agenda of manipulating others through their way of seeing things and through their way of going about things, this is also the choice of the ones being manipulated. So those who feel that they're manipulated, falling onto that manipulation of that kind, that is also their choice. And that's why you have the choice to have that as your point of attention, or you can have something completely different as your point of attention. As certain things feel and they're obligated, being mandated in a certain way, there is always some kind of a way around it for you to feel satisfaction and not to feel manipulated. For you to find a way to see certain things in a way that are more satisfying. Because for as long as you're in your physical iteration and every other physical iteration, you will not be fearless. Because if you were to be fearless, you would be limited. In other words, you would be released from any kind of discomfort, and that cannot be for as long as you're observing in your reality, because moment by moment you're choosing, moment by moment your senses are observing reality, you're having these interactions with others, you're observing different things, everyone is having their story being presented from their angle, and as someone is experiencing the ease on the place of their own ease, you might be experiencing question and somebody else will be experiencing answer, and you will be meeting in the question and sometimes individually blissfully sitting in your answer while interacting with each other. In other words, all the choices are there for you at all times. And the choice is about the context. The choice is about, is something feel like this or is something feel like that. The choice is about that you cannot protect anyone from their own choices. You cannot protect anyone no matter how dear they are to you. You can have only your own awareness about what the truth is. And the truth is that you, within everything that exists part of you, being so dominant within you, have at all times control. At all times control to what will be your experience of your own question dance, regardless of what is the context, and then choosing this context and choosing that context. The context can be 99.99999% not to your comfort, and you can still experience the comfort and bliss and experience of your own beautifully controlled by you experience of question answer dance. But it's never really like that. You never really have the experience where 99.999% of your experience that you're observing is not pleasing to you. So as you go about your day and observe these events that more and more people are making their own choices about, you always want to ask yourself, what is your choice? And as far as you go about others feeling the way you do in a place of steadiness, when you do see that truth, that when you see that everyone has their own truth of what they see within, that you really, as far as you can go, is to see and to have this idea that everyone continues making more and more choices from the place of their own question, answer, dance, and from their own holding of those reins of their own creation process, because the creation process of question answer is always being experienced individually, and sometimes with more feeling of control and sometimes with not so much feeling of control. But we assure you that there cannot be an agenda of anyone that it's sitting the way you call it on the top, and from the place of pure evil, or of that pure which you call discomfort, moving the pieces on the chessboard that affects millions and billions of people and experience satisfaction. That is why we wanted to bring to your attention, what do you think that place of power and then that place of dissatisfaction being led, coming down in having others people experience that place of dissatisfaction. Want to bring to your attention that that experience in which you sometimes feel someone is dictating to others, to few others, or to few million or billion others, can never come from a place other than thinking that at that moment they're doing something that is beneficial for others in a way that they feel that others cannot have their own choice to their own benefit. And this is the place where we want to bring your attention, is that everyone can bring that choice to their own benefit, to their own satisfaction, to their own balance within everything that exists through this and every other physical iteration. And once you keep your focus there, once that is dominant within you, then you will see others that are coming through, and then more of these that are like you, steady, will see those experiences, and then you will feel that throughout the whole experience of civilization, through eons of years, not really measurable or measured by your sense of time, there have always been people, and there are currently there so many people that keep that steady question answer dance within them, that see that truth within them, that truth, that moment by moment experience is a choice, that moment by moment experience of how things are seen is their choice, and that no matter how much they are trying to affect, even through the place of their own example, even through the place of their positive example, that everyone is still at all times making choices. And once you see that, once you feel the liberation of that the question answer dance you're experiencing will never feel the same like anyone else around you that you see from their own perspective, then you know that choice is really the only thing that has your physical iteration different than anyone else that has lived, lives now, and will live in physicality.
So then is the choice in the sense of, if you're not satisfied with what you're being told and you feel that other options or of the truth is being suppressed, your choice is to look out the information that you feel comfortable doing and
you are making the choice by something that it's not satisfying reflecting back to you. You can make the choice to see based off of that, what is that you can see that it's more satisfying to you, because this experience of which you call outside of you experience is just a mirror reflection. It is like that person, it is like that purchase, it is like that news outlet, it is like that news that's coming through, and you, based off of that, are choosing what are you seeing. Are you staying in the place of question and then finding different ways and covering that mirror at a time? Yes, sometimes having that experience and covering that topic altogether for you to find a place of balance. But that question you're asking, you would never ask if you were to be in a place of balance between your own question and answer dance. The question like this you ask only when you're overwhelmed by being in this place of question, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay for you to get to the place of that which is called stimulation from outside by observing so much on that one particular topic about something that pulls the trigger within you not to feel that satisfaction and that ease in the balance of everything that exists within you. And those mirrors like that, those topics, those people, we often say those important relationships to you, and sometimes the topic can be an important relationship to you. Sometimes some kind of a question vibration that catches your attention and it's most of your interest becomes that stubborn mirror. So you want to use this stubborn mirror to see more at what it reflects back to you, because every time you feel discomfort or this particular topic, there is an opportunity for you not to stick around there too much with your attention, because your train of movement of your own question answer has made infinite number of circles where you could have seen what is that next layer and next layer and next layer of you, of everything that exists part of you, of that satisfaction of you, where then you can start recognizing more people who do not feel manipulated versus those people who feel manipulated. Because as you stay in a place of vibration of a question, you cannot reflect back to you more of anything different but more of that vibration of question. So we are bringing back to you that circle, that movement between question answer, between tipping points from question to answer and from answer to question. Those reins are always in your hands. And as you're moving through, it is only about you seeing in that cycle of creation where your attention catches the most. And if it is in vibration of question for some time, it will create some thinking patterns for you where that will become that stubborn mirror. But you want to celebrate that stubborn mirror, not for the feeling of manipulation you might feel for yourself or someone else, but for an opportunity for you to search for that fuller experience of everything that exists while you're in this and every other physical iteration. Seeing a topic, an event, as that stubborn mirror person that you cannot get away from, sometimes can allow you to see more of that and more of that and more of that. And the next time you see the experiences like this, you can see the next iteration of this feedback with this topic, you can see more and more of that which truly is those people that appear in power, those people that appear are manipulating, those people that appear are hiding, may not know what's going on. There may be their own fear trying to understand what it is, and as they're trying to understand, they feel like they're doing the best they can. And you have options to see it that way, or you can have an option to see it as something evil. You can have an option to see it that they may have not signed up to be in a place of power with this type of situation going on, and they're trying to figure all of that out. That they're balancing out the place of power. There's a lot of energy coming through on this topic. That place of power that you're talking about seems very exciting until you're in a place of power and then start feeling responsibility of you trying to control something that's uncontrollable, which is other people's choices. And therefore we wanted to bring it back to you as the first question we had earlier, that you have a choice to see this from the place of these people and understand, not as experiencing it from the place of your question vibration, because that is impossible, as you said already. But the moment you see and move yourself into the place of wider and wider and wider and wider view, that all of these people have everything that exists part of them, that they cannot be guided by anything else that you're guided with, which is your everything that exists part integratedly, beautifully dancing through physical iteration, moment by moment by moment. And while you can see them as someone who is in a place of discomfort and then make your own conversations from that place, you can also have so much stability on a topic. You can develop that through your muscle of attention, that you can see so much so that place of everything that exists on this topic, that you see these people for who they really are. Someone who, like you, is dancing between their choices. Someone like you who might feel that certain ways of placing the outlets of news and placing the information or guiding people in a certain way is something that they truly believe is beneficial to someone. Even some of those who might feel that manipulating others is the way of handling it to assist others, or they feel that that will be the place for their own satisfaction, we assure you it never is. And therefore, no one has in their conscious choice of moving through their own physical iteration moment by moment and making choices about their tipping point and question answer dance, that will make that choice from the place of not feeling so great, but from believing that they are really balanced out in their experience. And as you see someone that is reflecting back to you through that topic, through that person in power, something that it's not that ease that you feel once you remove your attention to something else, you can always remember that you have the choice how you're seeing this. And you cannot see something in physicality showed to you unless you see it in the form of an idea first. So we are always suggesting for you to celebrate these experiences that allow you an opportunity. Once you see them like you're seeing it now, right this moment in this conversation, as you're seeing it, that this is an opportunity for you to shine more and more of that light that you feel within you, more and more of that satisfaction that you feel within you, more and more of that desire that everyone is making their own choice, more and more of desire, more and more of that knowing, more and more of that sureness that everyone is doing that to the best of their ability, and that not you from your place of maybe even fear or maybe even a little bit discomfort and maybe even a little bit of wishful thinking for someone else to do it like you, nor those people that you call in power, because we're bringing to your attention, maybe never before we did it like this, in this format like that, the experience of that person from above and the experience of this person of you, if both are in fear, is exactly the same, regardless in which position you feel like you're sitting in the process of that particular interaction. And so as we're excitingly talking about this very important topic, that it's not only on this particular subject you bring, but for any type of subject of control over your own physical experience in iteration, we want to bring to your attention one more time in a highlighted manner that you are not to give so much credit to others for your own choices. You are to give all of the credits of your choices only to you, because that is the only time you can really, really feel like you are in power.
Yes, and I agree with that in the sense that I have found more of a narrative with this group of people in Thrive that I'm aligned to, and that excites me, and it is it's all the things that I believe in, so that feels very comfortable. I think the thing where I maybe trip up is in knowing the history of that power, and I feel that we are at a tipping point, and there is more opinions and more search and you know, in the sense of like there are now people around the world developing the mechanics to tap into that free energy. That toothpaste is out the tube now, it can't be put back, you know, so these things are happening, but there is a balance of that suppression as well, which I find that I find frustrating, and that maybe has come through history of that power, because that can't, you know, in a sense, that has happened.
There has always been, there is now, and there always be a new tipping point. There cannot be physicality without tipping points coming back through at all times. And in your physical iteration of what you have observed, this might feel like the biggest tipping point so far, but the tipping points are happening at all times based on where your attention is. So while we understand that this might be a topic that is so important to you, that on this particular topic you are experiencing or you want to see that tipping point throughout your physical iteration, we want you to also understand that if you do want to see those experiences in your physicality during your physical iteration is about you seeing and being in a place of discovery of that more than exaggeration of that particular question vibration about history repeating and coming through history. Once you accept that tipping points is inevitable, the tipping point is what keeps physicality to move through eternity the way it does, always having fuller and fuller experience. That when you go and celebrate the history of how that particular experience is like that, and there always will be some way of experiencing some kind of power and some other way of experiencing some other power. So there can be the new tipping point, a new tipping point, a new tipping point, because through all of those tipping points, moment by moment, you and next generation and your experience from one to another physical iteration is experiencing fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller experience, in a way that's why it's so exciting to be in physicality over and over and over and over and over and infinitely over and over again.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.